American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time of my life. When the words all come down like blues on Tuesdays come down. Throw it all away. Throw it all away.
Welcome to another episode of American Timelines. I'm Amy, and that's Joe.
Yes, and we are starting a new year on this episode. This is a special episode. This is episode 150. That's a milestone.
Yes.
This is our 150th episode. I can't believe we've done this 150 times.
I know.
Well, after today, we will have. Yes, and we have a very special guest that's going to go into this new year where we've moved on from 1951. We covered all that crazy stuff.
That's right.
We're into 1952 now.
And we have my mom here.
Yes,
Oh my
welcome, Mary
gosh.
Monfort.
Hey! Hello, American Timeliners!
So
I am ready to
thank you.
spelunk into the depths of time, and it is a long time to 1952.
We're going to Spelunk.
Well, and we are having my mom on because her birthday was January of 1952.
Boom, just like my mom.
Woo!
No,
Just
your mom
like your
wasn't
mom.
January 1952.
No, but we had her on her birth month. We had
That's
her
right.
on-
An
we-
excuse to have our moms on.
yeah,
is
we
what it
had
is.
her on February of
Oh.
1951. So everyone will know my mom is older than your mom.
Yep, now they know.
Oh,
Now
everybody knows.
never.
And that, I mean, when we first met, that's how we decided whose mom could win in a fight. Is my mom's older, so I think that meant your mom would win because she's
Who's been
older, or would
training
my mom-
longer, though?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Your
who's been
mom.
training
3
True.
boys, it was your mom. Yeah.
Yeah,
She could
that's
kick my
true. Yeah,
butt.
she had to fight us a lot. So hopefully you guys never do fight.
Yes, let's hope.
Yeah.
I
All right,
think
so
a
19
matchup. I want to maybe wrestle.
You want to do it.
maybe a leg wrestling match or something.
Thumb wrestling.
Yeah,
I think
no
10
holds
paces.
barred.
I don't know.
Use
You
all
have
the
to
weapons.
distance. You
Yeah.
got to be the
Funny.
6 foot thing, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
Thank
So
you
without
for
further ado,
having
we're gonna
me.
oh, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so
am
much. I know
not,
it's not your favorite.
I am not. I'm not professional. I leave that to my daughter and son-in-law, and
Yes.
try to maintain
call us that.
anonymity at all costs.
Oh,
Yes.
you're gonna fall in love with this. The bug is gonna bite you, and you're gonna have your own podcast by the end of the year.
Gosh, I always get bited by bugs. I hate that.
Yeah. I
We'll
hate
see.
it.
We'll see
right.
what happens.
So 1952
Yes.
was an important year, I guess.
Because I was
Well,
born. Nothing else
'cause your
happened.
Because
mom
you were
was born.
born.
And if she
Show
wasn't born,
over.
you wouldn't be born, and
That's
then we
right.
wouldn't have this show.
That's true.
That's a
But
bright
I'm gonna
thought.
start the timeline. I'm gonna back us up just a second
Yeah.
to December 1951 because the timeline actually what happens here. What I'm going to start with actually kind of started happening in December of 1951.
Okay.
Two things simultaneously. The first thing, in December of 1951, the North Hollywood Hospital and Sanitarium supervisor advised his family that Jerome Horwitz was becoming a problem to the nursing staff
Uh-oh.
at the facility because of
Jerome.
his mental deterioration. Yeah, Jerome Horwitz. They admitted that they could no longer care for him and suggested that he be placed in a mental hospital. His brother, Moses Harry Horwitz, refused and relocated him to the Baldy View Sanitarium in San Gabriel, California.
Okay.
Baldy
Okay.
View.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's his brother. Moses and Jerome are brothers. Moses is older, but he had to take care of his brother. But I'm going to leave that there for now.
Okay.
At the same time, in late December 1951, laden with passengers and nearly 40 metric tons of cargo, the freighter SS Flying Enterprise steamed westward from Europe towards America. A few days into the voyage, she hit the eye of a ferocious storm. Force 12 winds tossed men about like playthings and turned drops of freezing Atlantic foam into icy missiles.
Whoa.
when in the space of 28 hours, the ship was slammed by 2 rogue waves, solid walls of water more than 60 feet high.
Whoa.
The impacts cracked the decks and hull almost down to the waterline, threw the vessel over on her side, and thrust all on board into terror.
What?
Oh my
What
God.
caused a wave that big?
A crazy storm. Flying
And where-
Enterprise's Captain Kurt Carlson. Hold on, I'll get it. I'll let you guys talk in a second.
Sorry.
This is all one thing. This is an intro to a book.
Go.
Flying Enterprise's Captain Kurt Carlson, a seaman of rare ability and valor, mustered all hands to patch the cracks and then try to right the ship. When these efforts came to naught, he helped transfer across waves 40 feet high the passengers and the entire crew to lifeboats sent from nearby ships. Then, for reasons both professional and intensely personal, and yet to the amazement of the world, Carlson defied all requests and entreaties to abandon ship. Instead, for the next 2 weeks, he fought to bring Flying Enterprise and her cargo to port. His heroic endeavor became the world's biggest news at the time.
So he did it?
In a narrative as dramatic as the ocean's fury, acclaimed best-selling author Frank Delaney tells, for the first time, the full story of this unmatched bravery and endurance at sea in his book, Simple Courage, The True Story of Peril on the Sea. You can get it on Amazon. He wrote this on October 9th, 2007.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to read that intro because that's an intro to his book. So buy his book. I've mentioned Frank Delaney like 5 times on this podcast. I should reach out to him. Yeah. Because he keeps writing books about stuff we're talking about. So,
oh, wow.
Historic stuff.
So that's the start of that story.
Got it.
And I have more.
It comes later in January.
Yeah. So that was what happened in December with the trouble with it. And the captain stayed on there. And we're going to get with what happens with that later in January.
Got it.
And what body of water was that, Joe?
It was in
the ocean, or
it was off the coast of between Ireland and England.
Oh my gosh! Huh?
Have you ever heard of Cork, Ireland?
Yeah.
It was near Cork.
Wow.
If you know where that is, I guess Cork is like the second largest city.
Why don't you stop talking now?
Bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, well, isn't Dublin the largest?
Yeah, I'll say yeah. I don't know. I'll say yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave those 2 things there. They're unrelated, but I started the stories there, and I'm going to get in more to later. But for now, we're all the way to Wednesday, January 9th.
Okay.
1952.
Love cliffhangers. That was good.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. And on January 9th, 1952, the U.S. Marines gave notice that they will recall Ted Williams to active duty for the Korean War. Do you guys know who Ted Williams is?
No, I don't.
Baseball.
Yeah, Mary would have heard. Yeah. He's like one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
Oh.
And he probably would have broken all the records if he didn't serve in World War II and the Korean War.
Wow.
So he got called out, but he was unbelievable. In his last at-bat before they called him up, he hit a game-winning 2-run homer against Detroit's Dizzy Trout to give the Red Sox a 5-3 win.
Trout.
Ted Williams, Dizzy Trout, yeah, isn't that cool name? Ted Williams was amazing. He was a 9-time All-Star, a 2-time recipient of the American League Most Valuable Player, a 6-time AL batting champion, a 2-time Triple Crown winner. That means you lead in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Okay, we believe you.
Not to be mistaken for the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and that Triple Crown. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not that Triple Crown, baseball trophy. Yeah, but then he goes and he gets called back up, and he already fought in World War II, and now he gets called up while he's dominating baseball. And most baseball players would just go into the service and just play, like they would be there, but all they would do is play on the service baseball team, like for morale or something. But he was a pilot and all this stuff, so he was too valuable to do that. So, and he actually was John Glenn's wingman in Korea. John Glenn, the astronaut.
Oh, wow.
How weird is that?
Really?
Ted Williams and John Glenn, yeah. So he likely would have exceeded 600 career home runs if he hadn't served in the military, and he might have even approached Babe Ruth's record if he hadn't.
So he went to the military, and that ruined his career.
Well, he went back and played baseball afterwards, but that's a couple years of not getting stats, so he didn't go. But
he was saving us, though. I mean, he was saving all us.
but he never complained publicly about the time devoted to the service in the Marine Corps.
I don't know about the Korean War though.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
I was teaching about it, and it was a proxy war.
Yeah.
Which means that the superpowers, like the United States and Soviet Union, right? They were against. It was a Cold War, and they were against each other.
Right.
But a proxy war is when they don't fight each other directly.
They fight through other people.
Yeah, they get involved in these third world country conflicts, and they fight that way.
Well, and the word was, because we've been talking about this now for 2 years. There are 2 years of the show, of 2 years worth of episodes,
right?
About how the fear was that communism was going to spread,
right?
And so you had to fight communism wherever you could.
Yes,
but the conspiracy theorist in me feels like it's all bullshit. Like it's all just like there's probably secret reasons behind closed doors.
It probably has to do with racism.
Deals. Well, racism, I'm sure, was something.
Everything ends up having to do with
Mary, did racism exist in 1952?
I don't remember a lot of that year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Having been born in January, even by December, I don't have a lot of memory of it. So
no, I wouldn't think you would.
Well, right now we're talking about things that happened before you were born, but you were close.
You're right.
Anyway,
we don't need to get graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Ted Williams' biography. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ted Williams.
Oh. Ted Williams' biographer argued that he was not happy about being pressed into service, but he did what he thought was his patriotic duty. But also, one other aside about Ted Williams, did you know that he is cryogenically frozen?
Oh my God.
His
Seriously?
body is frozen, and his head, like, I guess they decapitated him and put him in a jar in case in the future.
You made that up.
No. His family. He wanted to know his family. A bunch of them want to be frozen in case in the future they have a way to bring people back.
I heard they do that in California, probably, right?
Yeah, I thought it was just Walt
I didn't
Disney,
think they did that in 1952, but I guess.
Well, his older daughter actually sued.
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, Disney's frozen, right? That's what I heard.
I think that's an urban legend.
What?
Well, Ted Williams really is. And his older daughter was like, no, we can't do this. He doesn't want to be frozen. He wants to be cremated and have his ashes spread in the Florida Keys. So she sued her 2 other siblings, her sister and brother, because she said, no, that's not what he wanted. But the son and daughter had a family pact that Ted Williams had signed saying he wanted to be frozen. And there were allegations that they just used one of his autographs and just wrote in the pact on the autograph.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's true or not. But yeah. So
wonder what he died of.
Oh, you know what? I read
we'll
that.
Look that up. We'll look.
He was old. Like he was alive for a long time, and he supported Nixon, and he loved Republicans, and he actually supported Herbert H. Walker Bush. But I think he died of like a heart thing or something. But he was old. He was like, he went out to the Fenway in 1990s or something, and like waved his hat, and everybody loved it.
Oh yeah, everybody loved him. Yeah.
So that brings us to Thursday, January 10th, 1952. We're creeping up closer to Mary's birth, and this is on January 10th is the day that ship, the SS Flying Enterprise, sank.
Flying Llewellyn, yeah.
Yes.
It sank?
It actually sank. It sank. They finally gave up. They tried. All these tugboats came, and all these things came, and they tried to save it. And they were trying to get it to go towards England instead of Cork. But they should have went to Cork because it was closer. They might have saved it. But there were a lot of bad decisions. And a lot of people picked on this captain, too, because
did they save him?
Yeah, he got off, but one guy drowned while they were trying to save him. But Carlson was the captain who was reluctant to evacuate passengers and the crew to a British ship. So he wanted to wait for an American ship to go. So they criticized him about that. But the ship ended up going down. Among her cargo was 1,270 long tons of pig iron, 486 long tons of coffee. It had some rags, peat moss, some 12 Volkswagen cars, antiques, antique musical instruments, typewriters, naphthalene,
Whatever that is.
10 passengers. It's some kind of chemical. And there's speculation that there was some gold and zirconium on it. But on January 10th, Carlson and finally abandoned the ship at 15:22 hours, and they were picked up by a ship called Turmoil, I guess. The Flying Enterprise sank at 16:10 hours to whistle, siren, and foghorn salutes from the flotilla that had been all the boats around there. And so I guess they do like a
gosh.
whole thing, like a
Send off kind of
salute,
thing.
and it just
A
goes down. And
burial
just
at
get up.
sea. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
Well, and Volkswagen cars at that time, those little cuties. Too bad they went.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Pig
poor
iron, I don't
Volkswagen.
know, but
So they were trying to get it to Falmouth, which is a town in England,
Mhm.
which I looked up is the home of the band Zapoppin. There's a band called Zapoppin that's from there, from 2017.
God, who cares?
But they should have went to Cork. And Cork, Ireland, I did find out it's the home of Jack Gleason. Do you know who that is?
Jackie Gleason?
Not Jackie Gleason,
a boxer.
Irish guy named Jack
No?
Gleason, born in 1992.
I don't know.
You both would know him. He played Joffrey Baratheon
Oh.
on Game of Thrones.
He just passed away.
He did?
He did?
Yeah.
That young kid?
Well,
Oh
he's
my
not so
goodness.
young anymore. Jeffrey. No,
What
no,
did
no.
he die of?
He was born in 92. He's got to be pretty young.
I'm wrong. I'm thinking of the guy that was in Harry Potter movies that was the blonde nemesis.
Oh, Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
Oh, he died?
He died?
He did. Yeah.
Oh.
What did he die of?
God bless him. I don't know. I saw a picture and I didn't even recognize him at this age, but
Really?
the headlines were that was him.
Oh
If
my
I'm wrong, I'm
goodness.
sorry.
Right.
I'm glad you're alive if I'm wrong. Wherever you are.
We'll do an apology. We'll do an apology next time.
Oh, corrections. Yes.
Yes, corrections and apology. So they in 1960 they salvaged $210,000 of the $800,000 worth of cargo, and they did some diving in 2001 and got some pictures of it and things like that. So Nikolai Bunjakowski was the guy who died. He drowned during the rescue. So rest in peace, Nikolai Bunjakowski, which is possible, Mary, that you are Nikolai Bunjakowski reincarnated. Like he maybe entered your soul.
Ooh.
So
I can't do a Russian accent, but I'd love to
Oh.
hear it. I love to hear him
Okay,
talk.
Maybe not. Yeah, Abe, can
I
you
can't.
do?
No.
No,
even
can't go there.
Don't even pretend to
Ruskies.
try.
The Ruskies.
And then on January 7th, 1952. Oops, I went backwards. I did the 10th, but so Moses, whose brother was, he moved his brother.
Back to
Moses,
the Bald
back to
Mountain,
Moses,
or what was it?
Yeah, bald. Yeah, bald. I can't remember, but his brother was in a different nursing home now. They wanted him to go to a mental hospital. But Moses was contacted on January 7th on the Columbia set while filming a movie called He Cooked His Goose to help Jerome for what would be the last time. Help move Jerome. He had to move him one more time for what would be the last time he moved him before he dies.
Oh.
And
Okay.
then Sunday, January 13th, 1952.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of disasters, so I hope you guys are
All right.
ready for this.
Yeah.
There's only one good thing this month, I know.
It's
It's
just
your birthday.
just Mary.
I know.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there it is.
these are all awful things. January 13th, 1952, the streamlined transcontinental passenger train called City of San Francisco,
Mhm.
that's the name of the train, encountered a raging blizzard with 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts and snowdrifts 8 to 12 feet deep that marooned the train high in the snow-swept Sierra Nevada mountains of California. This all
Yikes.
according to Tahotopia.com.
Donner
Wow.
Pass, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
really.
So do you guys know where Lake Tahoe is? It's like
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
it's like an hour, I think an hour northeast of Sacramento-ish, somewhere
Oh,
around there.
yeah.
Okay.
That's where this train
Got stuck.
got stuck. At the
Okay.
start of 1952, this major blizzard engulfed Lake Tahoe and the Sierra, shutting down Interstate 40 for 30 days straight.
Whoa.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
only was that highway closed for a month, but a luxury train was stopped cold in the mountains with 226 passengers and crew on board.
Oh my God. What happened to him?
Again, this was major news at the time. The city of San Francisco was the pride. That's the name of train. It was the pride of the Southern Pacific train fleet. At its inauguration on January 2nd, 1938, the state-of-the-art passenger train was deemed the world's most superlative train. It had deluxe sleepers and coaches loaded with amenities.
Just like the Titanic.
Yeah, people think it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the train of the Titanic. Yeah. It was a technical marvel in engineering. It was proclaimed the largest, fastest, most beautiful, powerful, and luxurious steamliner ever designed. It
Unsinkable.
was a $2 million train in 1952.
Yeah.
And it would go back and forth between Chicago and Oakland in 40 hours.
That's not bad
Yeah.
for that time. For that,
Exceeding 100 at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. But on this day, January 13th, it rammed into a deep snow slide east of Yuba Gap. That's, you know where Yuba Gap is?
no.
About 20 miles west of Donner Pass, whatever that is. But it's like there's like a shell, like a cliff. About an hour northeast of Sacramento. When engineers put the train into reverse to escape, the steel wheels slipped on the icy track. Nobody panicked. After all, the luxury train was more powerful and better equipped than any other train on the line. Among the 196 travelers on board were representatives bound for a Republican National Committee meeting in San Francisco and soldiers bound for the Korean War. No one really expected to be stopped by a near snow slide very long, but hours passed. However, and the passengers' laissez-faire attitude turned slowly to anger when they were still snowbound 24 hours later.
Whoa.
The wind was fierce, howling at speeds in excess of 90 miles an hour, and snowdrifts towered 20 to 30 feet outside the frosty
Holy
windows.
cow.
Good grief.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Many feared it would be just a matter of time before another avalanche would shove the entire train into the steep ravine next to the train. Midday Monday, 30 hours into the ordeal, no rescue in sight. The supply of diesel fuel ran out.
Oh.
When the power quit, the
Oh
passenger
my
compartments
gosh.
were pitched into a cold, eerie darkness.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Time to get
Even as
afraid,
the-
not mad.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
scared and start. I know I would start eating people at this point.
Jeez.
I would just start
Well-
sizing people up. You know,
Might as well.
Maybe,
yep.
maybe checking out the goods. I don't know about actually
Yeah.
indulging yet.
I would
but,
start gnawing. I would start gnawing on the heaviest guy's arm. Maybe start with his skin tags. I don't know.
Ew.
Just a nice
Why did it
cuticles. Ew.
So even as
So gross.
the blizzard raged on, rescue trains were inching their way closer from both east and west toward the stranded steamliner. Say that.
There you go.
Stranded
Say that.
Streamliner. One train carried dog sled teams. The Sixth Army trucked in weasels.
What?
Those are over snow track vehicles. They're
Oh.
called weasels.
Okay.
And soldiers
Oh.
trained in winter survival.
Okay.
Military doctors and nurses were rushed to likely rescue points near the stranded train. During a brief lull in the storm, a Coast Guard helicopter managed to drop medical supplies and food.
Oh,
which
that's
is
good.
So you don't have to eat the guy, the
Yeah.
heavy guy. At one point, an avalanche struck a rotary snowplow manned by engineer Roland Raymond of Sacramento, and he was killed.
Ooh.
Another rescuer,
Oh,
36-year-old Jay
poor
Gold,
Roland.
died of a heart attack from his exertions.
Mm,
Ah.
They
man.
say when you're exerting
Yeah.
energy in the
In
cold, that's why
cold.
people die shoveling snow. Again, that's what happened to my stepdad. I
Really?
think that's why my stepdad died
Yeah.
when he did.
Yeah.
He was out messing with snow. So while they're stranded, right? They're stranded.
Yeah.
Because then, before they got saved, on January 14th, 1952, on Monday, the Today Show premiered with Dave Garroway and Jack Lescoulie on NBC TV.
Okay.
I remember that show. Not the
It's still on.
premiere, but
Yeah, the show's still on, and this Bryant Gumbel was on there for a while. Anyway, and the snowstorm in the Sierra Nevada killed 26 people altogether in other places too.
Okay.
And then on January 16th, Wednesday, so this was Saturday that they hit this,
Yeah.
or Sunday that they hit the steep snow thing, and now by Wednesday,
Yeah.
January 16th,
Mm-hmm.
the storm finally stops. When the deadly storm broke on January 16th, relief parties rushed in for the rescue. The cold and weary passengers hobbled to safety along the tracks while the sick and weak were tobogganed or carried on stretchers. Miraculously, all 226 passengers and crew survived their 3-day ordeal on the snowbound train.
Well,
It
that's good.
was a record blizzard. Nearly 13 feet of snow had blasted the region that week.
good grief.
That storm dumped nearly 65 feet of snow on Donner Summit and the snowpack itself reached 26 feet deep, the greatest depth
Yikes.
ever recorded there.
Now I wonder if that Donner Pass is named after the Donner Party.
Oh,
I think,
know?
isn't it? I mean, isn't that the
Because
point?
isn't that where they
Did they really make
died?
it that far? Like
Yes.
almost to California?
I think they
They got
did, yeah.
snowed in. They got snowed in, and
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, I bet it is.
Yep.
yeah,
Oh my gosh,
totally.
Google that. Let's just say it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're
Well,
pretty
it was
safe
the
to say that.
Donner Party, and it happened there. So
Yeah.
I figure they named it after
Yeah.
the Donner
That's a
Party.
pretty safe
I don't
bet.
know. Yeah,
Well, makes sense why then I was talking about wanting to eat people already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
you
was
were
it
pretty
ties
on the money
in.
in my
there.
Good
brain.
tie-in, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that brought us to Friday, the 18th of January, 1952. We're getting closer to Mary coming, but she's not there
Uh-oh.
yet.
Uh-oh.
And 11 days after Moses was interrupted on that set.
What? See, I don't like breaking the
So-
story up like this because I don't know what you're
We're
talking
back
about.
All right,
to
so
the-
Moses,
Yeah.
back on January 7th, Moses was contacted on that set while he's filming.
And what
a
was the
film
movie
called
again?
Well, he cooked his goose.
See,
Okay.
that's very prophetic. The name of that,
And I bet-
considering
yeah,
his brother
and his brother's dying.
yeah.
And so he helped move Jerome on January 7th, and 11 days later, on January 18th, 1952, Jerome Lester Horwitz died. He lived
Oh.
the shortest life of the Stooges, dying at age 48.
So he's one of the Stooges.
Curly Howard. Jerome Lester Horwitz was Curly Howard. Moses was Mo Howard.
Oh.
What?
He was given a Jewish.
Oh, I didn't
Jerome
know
Lester
that.
Howard. It's Curly Howard. That's his real name. Yeah.
He was in a
Okay.
mental institution?
They wanted to put him in one, but he was at a
Ah.
nursing home. So the thing had happened. He was only 48 when he died. He was given a Jewish funeral.
Yeah.
And later, who cares? You guys don't care where he was laid to rest. But he had started having strokes in the mid 40s.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
And so
Oh,
you
that's
can
sad.
see actually, like, after they replaced him with Shemp,
Mm-hmm.
the thing was he needed a rest, but these guys never
Yeah.
rested. Like when they weren't filming, they were doing live shows, like 7 days a
Oh.
week. They were just always on the run, always on the road. And the Three Stooges asked, they said, "Hey, can we take a break? Curly's overworking himself."
Mm-hmm.
He went to the doctor. They thought he had maybe had some strokes. His voice was getting deeper. He was getting slower. His energy began to wane. His doctor diagnosed him with hypertension, a retinal hemorrhage, and of course obesity. So he
Yikes.
needed to take a break, but they're like, "Nope, no breaks."
Ah,
Oh, man.
So they had Shemp.
And they died like poor too.
Yeah, they had horrible
It's awful, their
deals.
story.
oh.
Yeah, and so Shemp had to come in and sign some deals, but Curly would visit the set sometimes, and he's got cameos in some of the ones Shemp is in.
Oh,
Just
does
like
he?
one, he's got full head of hair. It's kind of weird to see. He's
Oh
like,
my
sleeping.
gosh.
Yeah, he's
Oh
just a
my
sleeping guy.
gosh.
It's not really.
Sorry.
But
I
yeah,
always
so
thought, is
he
Curly really related to Mo in real life? I mean, could they
They
not
really
look
are.
much different?
they looked. But you know what? I looked at the episode, the movie towards the end when Curly started looking bad. They said he started looking bad towards the end. So I wanted to look, and he looked a lot like Mo because Mo's so old.
Yeah.
Looking Curly
yeah.
looks just like
Oh.
Mo in the face towards the end because he was having a hard time. So they think he had a bunch more strokes, and then he started having hallucinations
Oh.
and things in the nursing home. But yeah, so Mo Howard, Curly Howard, and Shemp Howard are all brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
Yep.
right.
So yeah,
Well, more sad.
Yep, that's
sad,
sad.
death,
sad moment. We
That
lost
is
ship
sad.
sinking,
Curly Howard.
blizzards,
But-
avalanches.
Nope. The other thing about Curly Howard is they said he wasn't anything. He wasn't anything like his character. Like he was real shy and,
Oh.
and reserved and not crazy and
Oh.
goofy. But he did have a little bit of a drinking problem, so that's when he would get.
Oh.
And who doesn't?
Who doesn't have a drinking problem
Hey.
during this pandemic? Right?
That's right.
Okay, we're getting there. I think this is my last. Okay, January 19th, 1952, and this is where Mary, you can help me with this one. But on
Okay.
January 19th, 1952, the PGA approved allowing black participants for the first time in professional golf.
Oh, that's good.
This was the day that Joe Louis became the first black golfer to play a PGA-sponsored tourney, and they weren't going to let him, so he took his fight to the press. And so he beat the PGA rule that limited tournament participation to golfers of the Caucasian race. It was actually in their bylaws that
Oh my
only
God.
people of the Caucasian race could be in the tournaments.
No
According-
non-whites is how they. Yeah.
Isn't that great? Ugh.
Ugh.
So I found this from the undefeated.com by Rhiannon Walker. She can be found, I think, on Instagram at Instant Replay with Rhiannon. I don't know. But anyway, Joe Louis, he just liked to golf. He was a boxer. He's a famous
Right.
boxer.
Yeah, that's right.
Ex-heavyweight champion of the world.
But he said, I want people to know what the PGA is. He told the New York Times on January 14th, 1952, we've got another Hitler to get by. This is the last major sport in America in which Negroes are barred, Lewis told the L.A. Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time that it's brought into the open, he told the L.A. Times. So he was just going to all the media outlets, telling them about this. And so there were two other black golfers, Bill Spiller and Ural Clark, that also couldn't play. And they still didn't let them play because they couldn't be members of the organization. You had to be an official member to play in the tournament.
Yeah.
And you couldn't be a member because
Unless
the
you're white.
bylaws say you have to be Caucasian. Joe
Yeah.
Louis got in, and they didn't want to at first, but his humiliation tactic worked, and he became the first black golfer to golf because they were sponsored by Chevrolet, this tournament was, and Chevrolet had invited him to come, and so sponsors could invite special players that weren't part of the members of the PGA.
Oh.
So that's why they let him in. And so the other two guys, golfers that I mentioned, were kind of upset with Joe Louis because they were like, you shouldn't play since they're not letting us play. But he felt like, I need to break that barrier. And so they were kind of going back and forth about that for a little while.
Okay.
But he did not shut up about it. Like, even once he did, he kept fighting about it until the other guys got to play. And I guess
It was like a week later they were
Yeah.
allowed in. Yeah. So he really,
I guess, yeah.
he really made
See,
some
that's what
headway.
That's what I was confused about, if it was a week later or later, because then they said they didn't abolish that rule until what did I say? I have it in here somewhere. 1964, I think. 1961, the Caucasian-only rule was abolished. And Pete Brown became the first African-American to win a PGA event in 1964 at the Waco Turner Open. But, yeah, so, yeah, I guess they did. So I'm not sure how they got in the next one, if it was just like, because people are asking now.
Because of the bad publicity, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. What I read was the Phoenix Open was the following week, and they did let all three of them in.
Okay.
That's good.
So Louis
God, that's
broke
so-
the color barrier for the
I'm
first
almost
time.
like, do you even want to be in? Like, ugh. I
Yeah,
guess
but
you
but you should, even if you don't want to,
You gotta change it.
You've got to
You should be able to be.
That's right.
It's just
Yeah.
nuts that
Not because
where we
of
came.
how you look or something.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
racism is so dumb.
Yes.
So stupid of a thing. Like, it's so
Well, it's a
dumb.
social construct. It's not
Yeah.
a real thing.
Right.
It's a social construct
That's
that
true.
that was created to purposely
Keep the poor people
oppress
poor.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a power money issue.
Yeah.
It controls the other white people by making them think, hey, if this person gets more power, then that means I lose some of my power.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works.
Yeah, I just saw a meme recently that was like, it showed a picture of Donald Trump's, one of his golden boats, yachts or something. It said, the guy who drives this convinced this, show a redneck guy in a broken down truck, convinced this guy that these guys are taking all their money, and it's
It was
the
a bunch of
immigrants.
immigrants.
Yeah.
That's really true. Yeah.
That's about it. Okay. January 20th, 1952.
Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays.
But Stanley Burt Eisen was born January 20th, 1952 in Upper Manhattan, New York City.
I knew it wasn't me,
211th
so.
Street and Broadway. It wasn't you yet.
Yeah.
Just a couple days
It was
before
me,
you. So now you know Stanley Burt Eisen is just a little bit older than you. He was born near 211th and Broadway, the Inwood neighborhood near Inwood Hill Park. Both of his parents are Jewish. He's the second of 2 children. His older sister Julie was born 2 years earlier. Their mother came from a family that fled Nazi Germany to Amsterdam, Netherlands, and then to New York City. His father's parents were from Poland. Do you guys know who Stanley Burt Eisen is?
I love Stanley
it.
Burt. I mean, there's a great name. No, I don't know.
Stanley Burt's a great name, but he changed his name. So he was raised Jewish, although he didn't consider his family very observant, did not celebrate his bar mitzvah. But his parents listened to classical music and light opera. Stan was greatly moved by Beethoven's works. His right ear was misshapen and from a birth defect called microtia. Until having reconstructive surgery at the age of 30, he was unable to hear on that side. He found it difficult to determine the direction of sound, and he couldn't understand speech in a noisy environment. Despite his hearing problem, he enjoyed listening to music, and he watched American Bandstand on television. His favorite musical artists included Eddie Cochran, Dion and the Belmonts, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Little Richard. Stan learned to sing harmony with his family, and he was given a child's guitar at age 7. Any guesses at who this is, Mary?
The suspense is killing me. I don't know.
Come on.
That sounds sarcastic. Well, he listened to doo-wop music, but when the Beatles and Rolling Stones played on U.S. television, he was inspired by the performance aspect, which he thought, that might not be out of my reach. He received his first real guitar at age 13. It was acoustic, even though he wanted it to be electric. And he played tunes by Bob Dylan, the Byrds, the Lovin' Spoonful, and more. Although all through his childhood, Stanley has been recognized for his talent at graphic arts. So he attended the High School of Music and Art in New York City.
Give her some clues that are gonna.
You want me to just start guessing? Elvis.
I know.
Stanley was
20 minutes on
well,
this.
just Stanley was determined to be a star, man. He wanted to be a star.
Okay.
He wanted to kiss his fans.
Oh no! Really,
God.
Gene Simmons?
No,
Kiss?
Stanley Burt Eisen. He's an American music singer and songwriter, best known for being the co-founder, frontman, rhythm guitarist, and co-lead vocalist of a rock band. He's the co-writer of many of the band's most popular songs. Hit Parade ranked him 18th.
All right, it's Paul Stanley.
Paul Stanley.
God.
You were close.
You
I
are
had another
dragging this out.
I had another.
We don't need any more.
I don't know who
frontman.
Paul Stanley is.
He's the other guy from Kiss. Gene Simmons. He's the guy. He's Star Lord.
I only know the guy with the
Yeah.
the tongue thing and all. Not a
that's
Kiss
Gene
fan,
Simmons.
sorry.
You don't know Paul
I
Stanley.
said
He's
Gene
your
Simmons.
age.
Well,
Yeah, Gene Simmons, but
no, I don't know him. I don't know
I
him.
wrote.
Mm.
Okay.
All right, is it my turn?
It is. So that brings us
But that
to.
was a build-up. Love the build-up to that. Sorry,
Good Lord, was it ever?
all my answers were wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the murder of Dudley Veal.
Ooh, Dudley Veal. Do you know this guy, Mary?
No,
no. He wasn't born that year.
This was an excerpt from a book called Murder Most Texan by Barty Haley.
Ooh.
That's my source. So there was a
Wait, is this January 20?
I'll get to it. Yes.
Because isn't your mom's birthday January 28th?
8th. Yes.
So we
Yeah.
gotta play the birthday song. Happy birthday, Mary! It's your birthday, January 28th.
Happy birthday, Mom!
Yay! All right.
You don't have to repeat it. I'll edit it.
So an East Texas feud boiled over into bloodshed on December 15th, 1951, when Hunter Bergman shot his sister's ex-husband to death on the main street of Corrigan, and we're in Texas.
Ooh.
Bergman sat in his pickup on the main street of Corrigan, which is a small community of 1,400 in the piney woods of East Texas, waiting for Dudley Veal to come out of the bank.
Oh.
It was 10 days before Christmas, but the 55-year-old oil distributor hadn't driven to town to ask his former brother-in-law what he wanted to find under the tree in the morning.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Not Christmas love.
Nope. He bought Veal's present early, and he was ready to give it to him then and there.
Whoa! The president's
sounds sexual.
Yeah, it does. It did sound sexual. Kind
Yeah. 43-year-old Dudley Veal. I know. Sorry.
Heyo.
43-year-old Dudley Veal heard someone call his name, and then he turns to see who it is.
So he's like, "Yo, Dudley."
Yep. And so then his former brother-in-law fired once from a distance of 10 feet.
Oh no!
And the bullet tore through Veal's chest, killing him instantly.
Oh, really?
Gosh.
Now you said that like he was going to shoot again. It sounded like he was going to shoot again.
Nope. So then he stops and he just kind of looks at him for a minute, and then he calmly goes across the street to Essie's Cafe because he's looking for a police officer.
Now, I am just imagining in 1952, a cafe in Texas. I bet they have some delicious
pecan pie, probably
pies and eggs and like just butter soaked in biscuits and everything.
Yeah. Probably a veal dish.
Yeah, maybe a veal. Yeah,
Stanley Veal.
Dudley Veal. Yeah, Dudley.
He walks in. So he walks in and he finds the police officer, and he hands him the rifle, climbs back in his truck, and the police officer's like dumbfounded. And so he climbs back in his truck, drives to Livingston, the Polk County seat, where he surrenders to the authorities there.
Oh, just surrenders right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing he did after posting bail was to call his cousin, Douglas E. Bergman, who was a former prosecutor for Big D District Attorney Will Wilson.
And this might be where Doug E. Fresh got his name, the rapper.
I doubt it.
But we doubt it.
Yes. And District Attorney Will Wilson would leave his mark on Texas history as the state attorney general who shut down the gambling casinos, brothels, and other sources of illicit pleasure on Galveston Island.
No wonder.
You know, what do you got against brothels? What does anybody have against brothels?
I know. Bergman hoped he could keep him out of jail, so he calls his cousin and says, "Please help me." In record time, Douglas recruited 4 of the finest defense attorneys in the eastern half of Texas, and including one named Zemi Foreman.
Zemi Foreman, y'all!
And he was brother to famous Percy Foreman, who was another famous attorney.
Percy Foreman, that sounds familiar. Did you talk about him before?
I might have.
Percy Foreman, that sounds familiar.
George's brother. He's getting this big defense together. Maybe. So as soon as the DA hears about that he's getting this big defense together, he needs to bring in more reinforcements on his side.
Really? Okay.
So 2 big city lawyers from Lufkin served as special prosecutors.
The guy admitted to doing it. Why are they?
Yeah, why he turned himself in?
Well, we'll get to it.
Oh,
okay.
And the stage was set for the most dramatic courtroom confrontation Polk County had ever seen.
I love dramatic courtroom confrontations.
45 days later, on January 29th, 1952, which is where we are now.
Oh, that is the same day that Faye...
You forgot to look it up?
No, I do, but
you had the wrong document.
My document didn't save when I looked it up, so...
The sensational murder trial with its infamous cast of characters began in the same town 75 miles north of Houston. The Bergmans and the Veals, which were 2 prominent pioneer families. They sat there on opposite sides of the courtroom, didn't talk, didn't look at each other.
Pioneer families.
The rest of the 400 seats were occupied by these, dignified older women that came to watch, and they would bring their lunch in a bag so they didn't lose their place at the lunch recess. They just didn't lose their lunch. Eat it. Yep.
Yeah.
So the selection of the jury took 9 days. In the sparsely settled county of 16,000, it was hard to find qualified candidates, not on speaking terms with the accused or the victim.
I guess it's such a small,
Yep, and who had not formed a hard and fast opinion about the case. When the 12th juror finally took his seat, only 20 members of the original 160-man pool were left. So they were having a hard time.
Sheesh.
Half of the jurors had something in common. 6 worked for the same oil company under the same supervisor.
Ooh.
Although several made the cut by insisting that they were not acquainted with their fellow employees, skeptics wondered how much truth there was to those disclaimers.
That can't be true.
So Zemi Foreman made it clear from the start that he would not dispute the most incriminating fact. There was no denying that his client took Dudley Veal's life.
Oh.
But the attorney claimed Hunter Bergman committed the act in self-defense. And Zach Foreman intended to show the dead man had it coming. I think that's supposed to say
Really?
Zemi Foreman. It was autocorrect.
So my guess would be just that he'd have to prove that Dudley was going to kill him
Yeah.
in some way.
So the prosecution opened with its star witness, high school student Gwendolyn Hudson, who watched the whole thing from the furniture store where she worked part-time.
Really?
Yep. So the teenager testified that she waved to Veal as he exited the bank next door. Then she saw the defendant walking across the street carrying a rifle. He was raising his gun, she recounted for the jury and the 400 spectators in the packed courtroom. Mr. Veal turned and stared back. Just as he did, Mr. Bergman fired. The schoolgirl continued the narration, describing how the mortally wounded Veal collapsed on the sidewalk in front of the furniture store and was dragged inside by her manager. 5 minutes later, the local mortician pronounced Veal dead. Responding to questions from the district attorney, Hudson said it with certainty that the victim made no threatening move whatsoever toward his attacker. She added that the only weapon found on Veal's body was a pocket knife with a 4-inch blade. Not wanting to spend any more time on the open and shut case, the prosecution rested before lunch after calling just 6 witnesses. The defense countered with Elna Veal, who was Hunter Bergman's 44-year-old baby sister.
Okay.
Who told a long and tearful tale of marital woe. She swore that her abusive ex-husband had threatened her life and the life of her protective brother many, many times in the last 15 years.
Oh.
This is his defense.
Yes.
A second former brother-in-law repeated another alleged death threat from the witness stand. During a visit to the Veal home a year before the murder, he testified Dudley, while sitting in a chair toying with a pistol, announced, "I'm going to kill that Hunter Bergman." So that's what he says.
Okay.
Then the jury heard from Bergman himself, who countered under oath that he fired the fatal shot because he believed Veal was reaching for a gun. He blamed his trigger happiness on a botched bushwhacking the previous day by his estranged in-law, but provided only a photo of a bullet hole in his pickup as proof of the ambush.
A botched bushwhacking.
Yeah, I tried to look that up. Bushwhacking is like hunting animals. So they must have gone out hunting together, and then he's saying that the guy put a shot at him.
Okay.
But he had one bullet hole in his truck.
Okay.
The most dramatic moment of the 29-day trial, longest in Texas history up until that time.
And the other guy, the other guy we kind of grazed over here in the middle talking about. The other guy he said on the stand that he's going to commit murder. He's going to murder him.
What?
Never mind.
Okay.
I'll cut that out. I thought you said.
No. So it came when Dudley Veal Jr. contradicted his mother on every important point. Elna Veal's grown son, who had taken over the family business, said that he never once saw his father physically abuse his mother, nor did he ever hear him threaten anyone with bodily harm. On cross-examination, one of his uncle's lawyers shouted, "You got up on that stand and branded your mother a liar. She who gave birth to you and your sister. You should have more respect for her." So the politician presented the opening summation for the defense.
Okay.
His wild gestures and over-the-top oratory, which included dropping to his knees and praying for divine intervention.
Oh, I bet that didn't happen.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
4 hours into the 6 set aside by the judge for closing arguments, Zemi Foreman pulls a fast one. He suddenly turns to the tired jury and asks for a show of hands if they felt they had heard enough. And if they had, he would sit down and shut up.
Wow. Can you do that?
All 12 of them, their hands went up, and Foreman took a seat. So now the prosecutor's in a kind of a rock and a hard place, because if he demanded his right to have the last word, he could risk alienating the jury who just wants to go home.
Right.
Or he could let Zemi Foreman have his way and hope that he made his case for cold-blooded murder up to this point. So after a brief huddle with his co-counselors, District Attorney Simpson declared that the state would abide by the results of the unorthodox showing of hands. So they're going to stop.
They're going to stop.
So they receive their directions from the judge, and they go to deliberate Hunter Bergman's fate. After the record-setting length of the trial and testimony from no fewer than 84 witnesses.
Oh, my gosh.
No one expected to see the 12 jurors anytime soon.
Yeah.
The jury was home in time for dinner after deliberating only a half an hour.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
The bailiff, whose nickname was Dynamite, Read the 2-word verdict. I don't know why that's even part of it.
Dynamite.
Not
We
guilty.
needed to know that, though. Yeah.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Oh
What?
my gosh.
As one side of the courtroom celebrated and the other wept, an elderly spectator had the last word. Well, she observed, it'll take a full generation and more Bergmans and Veals to heal this breach. And that's the story of
Bergmans
the
and
murder of Dudley
Veals.
Veal.
Did they
Yeah.
ever?
Oh my
Did they ever?
gosh.
Did they ever heal the breach?
I don't know. Maybe they're
You didn't do enough research.
intermarried.
Can you find out?
There you go.
Nobody
it's a
cares.
Romeo and
nobody
Juliet
cares.
thing that comes later.
There
yeah.
wasn't a lot in true crime in January of 1952. It turns out.
Yeah, it
Of
was hard
course there
for-
wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's a chance that Dudley Veal
Yeah.
not only inspired the character Dudley on Different Strokes years later, but he also might be reincarnated as your mom.
And made veal parmesan. He invented veal parmesan.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably did.
There.
Do you have?
famous
Do you
chef.
have? Did you have any strong feelings, Mary, that might be your story and that you might be somebody named Dudley?
Dudley.
No.
No. Tried
Dang
that
it.
on. Didn't fit. Did not fit. No.
Didn't work. Okay, well,
No.
now we're going to turn over to you, Mary, to tell us everything you know about
Oh, boy.
1952.
Well, being that it's been such a kind of a joyous year up to now with all our related fun
Yeah, no
stories
kidding.
and everything, let's go with the theme. We've kind of got started. In trying to look at 1952, January 1952, and tie it into today, there was something going on, and I remember it as a kid, part of it anyway. But who's tired of talking about pandemics and the like? Let's go back to that. We had a raging epidemic going on prior to that. So we're, might as well get right back into it.
Yeah.
Never tired about talking about that stuff. That's when'd you get your shot?
Oh, I know.
When'd you get your second shot? On and on. So anyway, the polio epidemic for the United States had been going on. And so that's kind of like, all right, well, let's see how this ties in. And it's kind of interesting stuff, really. The polio epidemic was the most feared epidemic that we ever faced as a country. It was not the most deadly. The flu of 1918 was. That lasted 1 year, the flu of 1918.
Wow.
50 million people died worldwide from that, which is rather astounding. 1 in 3 people worldwide contracted that flu. So that's kind of jaw-dropping.
Yeah,
but anyway, polio, I think the reason was because polio was a children's disease.
Yeah, that would freak
For
people
all
out.
the victims, they usually were between 6 months and 4 years old. So yeah, that strikes terror right there. Let's see. It was a viral disease. It affected the spinal cord and caused muscle weakness and paralysis, et cetera, et cetera. It entered the body through the mouth and usually came from contamination and contact with stool of an infected person. I don't want to go there, but that's what the facts, just the facts, ma'am. And it was usually people in poor communities because it was poor hygiene,
sanitation.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My Uncle Dick had polio.
Did he?
Yeah, he wasn't my real uncle. It was my grandparents' neighbors growing up, but then they bought a house next to him when they grew up later. But we called him Uncle Dick. Aunt Bonnie and Uncle Dick.
He had polio.
He had polio. Yeah, he always, when he was a kid, he always had a limp. He's a funny guy. He loved margaritas.
Oh.
And he used a rope for a belt.
All right.
Sorry. And
one
other thing about him. Right? he also made sandals. This has nothing to do with polio, I think. but he made sandals out of dress shoes. He just cut the toes off his dress shoes, and he would wear sandals with black socks. those shoes
I
Cut
kind of
off
love
or-
all
that
summer,
look. I
all
don't
summer
know.
with
gosh.
black socks and his toes cut out of his dress shoes.
Oh my god.
Maybe
He's a
his
weird guy.
shoes were too
He's a
short or something, too small.
Dick, I don't know, Dick Hostetter.
Okay, so if you were exposed to polio and you contracted the virus, the symptoms took 3 to 6 days to come on, and it was usually
Oh, wow.
flu-like. You felt like you were getting the
Really?
flu.
Wow.
7 to 21 days later, polio paralysis would set in. So it was really kind of a fast thing. So there's
Wow.
kind of the facts of it out of the way. The history goes like this. In 1894, the first polio epidemic started in Vermont. So it was early
Okay.
on. There were 18
Vermont.
deaths. And remember, these are kids. These are babies. 18 deaths and
Oh.
132 were permanently paralyzed. But they had no idea what was doing it.
Yeah,
what
they
the
didn't know what it
disease
was.
was or anything. In 1901, Swedish timelines.
That's okay.
Swedish timelines.
Swedish.
No, that's okay.
But they realized that it was also an asymptomatic disease, which means you don't have to show symptoms to be a carrier of it. So that was kind
Yes.
of
Oh, that's scary.
a step forward.
Yeah.
In 1908, it was verified that it wasn't a virus that caused it, and
Mhm.
they identified that it was a virus by filtering spinal fluid from dead victims. Gross things for you, Amy. You love the gross stuff.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
but they couldn't verify it was a virus. They could only detect it because viewing actual viruses wasn't possible until 1950 when the electron microscope was developed.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
So are you fascinated yet? 1910.
No, actually, yeah.
It was the first time the idea came that maybe you could use the blood of polio survivors to make a vaccine that would create antibodies to help fight the virus. Pardon me. In 1916, there was a New York City epidemic. 2,000 people died in New York City alone. 6,000
Wow.
nationwide. Tens of
Oh my
thousands
goodness.
were paralyzed. And again, these are kids. These are little kids for the most part.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Polio would come mostly in summer months. And of course, in the warmer months, kids would be together in swimming pools and parks. And so it was kind of, it spread a lot then.
Fecal matter friendly.
Well, and sanitation in general was so behind then.
Yeah.
1921, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, New York State Senator, was elected President of the United States. And he
FDR,
FDR, you got it. He had contracted the poliovirus when he was in the Senate. And he was unable to walk when he campaigned and when he was elected. And he
nobody knew.
Yeah, he worked really hard to avoid being photographed in his wheelchair, and he would always stand on crutches at the podium when he made speeches to create the illusion that he could walk.
Yeah.
1929, Boston's Children's Hospital, in response to the polio epidemic, developed the iron lung machine.
Oh my God, yeah.
And that was described as a metal coffin-like thing that you got in and your head stuck out the end.
Yep.
And it's sealed airtight around your neck, and the pressure filled up and released inside of the actual machine, and that caused your lungs to inflate and decrease. So you would breathe. It breathed for you. When I was a kid, I remember probably maybe 4 years old or something, going to my grandmother's house, and they had a neighbor whose son, I think he was, teens or early 20s by then, but he was in an iron lung in their living room.
Oh my God, you saw
I know.
somebody?
Oh my gosh, in their living room.
Like Big
Oh my
Lebowski.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was freaky.
Yeah,
So
that
that was
is.
29. They had that, so that did help. In 31, they determined that there were different types of the virus, which is a concern, as we know, when things mutate or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in 1934, President Roosevelt started the annual birthday ball, they called it, for his birthday. And the whole thing was to
Birthday
raise.
ball.
Yeah, hey, had one on January 28th.
Amy hates
Yeah.
birthdays.
No.
They raised money for research for polio in that ball. And ironically, the biggest moneymaker was a yearly dance contest, which I kind of thought,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah. People
But
aren't going to be
hey,
able to walk with polio.
yeah,
But
yeah,
go ahead
or
and dance.
dance.
Yeah.
In 1935, they did have a vaccine, and they tried vaccine trials, and it was a disaster.
Oh no.
Most of the test subjects died or were permanently paralyzed, so
From
that
the
wasn't good.
vaccine?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that now with all these
Yeah.
anti-vaxxers? They would be like,
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
1938, Roosevelt created the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. And
Mhm.
entertainer Eddie Cantor, I don't know if anybody remembers
Mhm.
him, that is going back, while
Yeah.
being interviewed on a radio show, said that he thought people should send dimes to President Roosevelt to fight polio. In a few weeks, 2,680,000 dimes were mailed to
Oh
the
my
White
gosh.
House.
Whoa.
And it was the
Wow.
beginning of the March of
The
Dimes.
March of Dimes. Yeah.
That's where March of Dimes came from.
I
Wow.
still
That's
remember
funny.
checkouts at stores would have those little cardboard cards, and the dimes,
Yep.
you'd stick the dimes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It raised tens of millions of dollars for research over the years.
Did you ever try to
1940,
stick a dime bag in one of those?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think that's
can't
what they
buy a
made.
dime
Dime
bag
bag?
with a dime either, let me tell you.
No.
1949, Dr. John Enders found a way to mass produce the actual polio virus, which was a huge boost in creating effective research and vaccines to fight it. And he got the Nobel Prize for that, actually.
Oh wow.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Then, 1952, hello,
Yep.
was the
Here we
worst
are.
year for the virus in America. Almost 60,000 new cases just in 1952.
Wow.
After working years to find a cure, Dr. Jonas Salk,
Yep.
with the support of the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, all those dimes paid off, started the human trials of a vaccine that used the dead polio virus.
Mhm.
He announced on the radio that they had produced and tested an effective polio vaccine. The public announcement made him well known, and his name is always associated with curing polio. He kind of was our first Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
equate him to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
He got a lot of flack from the scientific community, though, for being public, for his public profile. And they didn't, the majority of the scientific community did not believe that a dead virus was effective in a vaccine. So just shows to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Up to that point, well, and by 1954, they were regularly vaccinating. It started the regular vaccination of the Salk vaccine. It took almost 50 years to develop that vaccine. We didn't even go 50 weeks to develop what we've had for the coronavirus. And I got to throw this in 1956, Elvis got his shot backstage before he performed on Ed Sullivan.
Ooh,
that's funny.
So, and on a high note.
Yes, that is good.
That's a good positive
and I love how that
I
love how that correlates with the coronavirus today, you know. How...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway is that our technology is way better, so you can trust it. Like, I think people are citing that, like, oh, look what happened there. oh, I can't get my vaccine because that's what happened in 1952. It's like, it's 2021.
Oh,
Right.
We've got it figured
yeah.
out. Get your second vaccine, everybody. There's all these people that aren't
I
getting
know
it.
that aren't getting their
Man
second
They're
shot.
not getting their second one. It's like, what are you
Man
doing, you
up.
knuckleheads? You already
Yeah.
got one.
Look at
Yeah, I know.
India.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Look
I
at this.
know.
I know. Get your
Gosh.
freaking vaccines. We're lucky to be able to have them. Everybody get them. Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, it does.
Well, it was
'Cause they
shocking
don't
to
wanna
me
feel
in
18.
researching this that they didn't really know what was causing it. They didn't know it was a virus. They
Yeah.
didn't know how it was contagious. They didn't know anything about it or anything about vaccines, really. So it came a long way
Yeah,
up
like
to today.
it's such an
Yeah.
odd thing. Like, why would you think a airborne illness would paralyze you? Like,
I know,
I can't
yeah.
think of anything like that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's cold symptoms or flu symptoms. You can't breathe or whatever. But yeah, and I'll never get the vision of you seeing that kid in an iron lung out of my head. From
Yeah.
now on. Like, you're the only person I've ever met that has seen somebody in iron
It
lung.
was really
in real
scary.
life.
Well, and we were just at the door. We didn't go in the
Oh,
room,
yeah.
but it was like,
Yeah.
whoa. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Poor
What's wrong
guy.
with that kid? Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
So we are lucky to be alive.
we
It's
are. Yes.
coronavirus kind of started out doing that to lungs. It kind of paralyzed because
Yep.
remember in the beginning it was you can't
Yeah.
breathe, you're suffocating, all of that. So yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Hopefully we're getting to the other side of this soon.
I know. I hope so too.
But thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, Mary, for
Yes,
that very
thank you for
in-depth.
that was good,
Oh,
That
Mama.
was super good.
I loved all that
That
info.
was very, very
did you?
good.
It was
It's a little dry.
Yeah.
We
I had
need
no
to,
idea.
we need
It's
a
also
happy song
interesting.
at the end or something.
I
Bring up
know.
Polio is gone.
Yeah.
Polio is gone. Yeah, I never knew that. I remember my dad always had a weird thing on his arm from the polio vaccine, like the big, like where he got
because it gives a scar or
he gives
some
a scar.
sort,
Yeah, he
doesn't
had
it?
this big old scar.
I think it was the early 90s when they finally declared it completely cured in America.
Yeah.
So
like
it,
herd immunity had been reached or whatever.
Let's hope it doesn't come
and
back.
the vaccine had gotten rid of it
Yeah.
to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got the
Anyway,
little round scar, but a lot of people did from the
Yeah,
shot.
my dad
Yeah.
always had that. Yeah. All right. Well,
All
thanks for
right.
listening, everybody. We got to get out
Yay.
of here. It's
Yes.
time to go. Mary was
Gotta get out of here, Chuck
awesome. That
Berry.
was really
It's
good.
been a delight.
Thank you, Mom, so much.
Love you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Love
love
you too.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I apologize. Also, I'd like to apologize for being a terrible son-in-law.
Well, thank you. I've been waiting for that. And to our listeners, February is a much more upbeat month. So hang in there. Tune in next time. You'll love it. There'll be a lot of laughs. I wasn't born then, but that's okay.
Oh, well.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. It's time for Chuck Berry.
Get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry, get out of the bathroom.
All right.
St. Louis.
Yeah. Flush first.
All right, Mom. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Well, now I spread and parking tickets, ripping paper, yeah, starting fires on top 40 Japan. What'd you think, man?
American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
I haven't worn pants all day, no pants all day, no pants all day, no.